to talk about this whole thing, but my main thing that I want you to take away from this is you should always trust your gut. That's it. That's my intro. Hi, I'm Amanda. You're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about the $78 million mansion event party thing that was happening in Dallas.
Yes, we know it sounds like that. No, we're not certain why. Yes, we have swapped out the mic going forward. It could be the new PC. It could be an echo from the new screens and things like that. We tried to fix it, and this is what we ended up with. Apologies. Yes, it sounds like this is the whole video.
Put on by a brand, and there was a few other brands involved, and it's become kind of a piece of discourse on TikTok amongst a lot of like the beauty girly pops. Frankly, I think everyone involved that has talked about this is valid. I know you guys get mad at me when I do that, but I'm serious and we're going to talk about everything. Their reasons for going or for not going are valid, and I have my own take on this because I recently said no to something 14 hours before I was supposed to get on a plane to go to an event. I canceled last minute, so I have my own take on this. Let's discuss. So this all starts from a video that I saw 6 days ago at the time of recording from Sydney Marlella. And her video, I watched it and I was like, good points are made. What she is describing is that there was an event that she is not based in Dallas, but there was an event that invited her to like this influencer party and was like promoting the fact that it was like this super expensive mansion, that it was going to be there. They weren't covering flights or anything like that. And they were going to give everyone like +3. Okay. And then not long before the event, they were like, actually, we're at capacity. We may not be able to accommodate the +3. Like, just talked about all the different red flags that she had with the event.
They told us in the confirmation email, basically yelling at us, we don't understand what the confusion is. I don't understand why you guys are trying to confirm where the location of the mansion is, because we're trying to see if this is a real thing, because we're literally not getting any information. Then they're like, you can't tell the location, you can't tell the address, you can't tell the city, you can't tell the state, so we can't tell our family any information of where we're going to be. And mind you, the state that it's in is in the South. So you want me to be in the South, not telling our family where we're going to be, not telling our friends where we're going to be, in a random location, and then you're telling us, and there will be police officers and security there, and if you do anything on the do's or don'ts list, you're going to be escorted off of the property. Excuse me?
I occasionally get invited to influencer-based events, a lot of beauty events. I do have a team that sometimes is like, hello, we have Pretty Girl Creator with followers on platforms. Would you like to have her there? And then sometimes they're like, yes. And then other times they're like, oh my gosh, Amanda wants to come? Yes, we'd love to have her. And then other times they're like, oh God, Amanda wants to come. We're at capacity. It'd be really cool if she didn't come, actually. Or my favorite is when they like submit a bunch of people and then like I'm the one name they leave off. That one's really funny. Which like all very valid. You don't have to want me there. I just find it really funny. There's been a lot of events that I've been invited to via my team where it's like, hello, yes, we would like Amanda. If you have a +1, you need to submit them for approval so we can check their accounts. We have a very specific type of crowd we want at this party. I rarely hear of a +3, and she also, Sydney, mentions like that was a red flag to me because why are you doing a +3 type of thing? Okay. And I should note as well in this video, she never mentions the brand. She says that it is a nail company that is in like Ulta and Sephora and things like that. And so people very quickly figured out who it was. It's Static Nails, a company I'd never heard of prior to this, but I don't wear false nails. Okay. I'm a polished girl, and then I used to do gels, but like that's it. Now, I should also note, I believe she said she's based in Philly. Yes. On her page, she has Philly, NYC, and DC. And she was like, I thought it was weird that they were inviting me to this event and not offering like flights or hotels and things like that. Now, there have been times where I have traveled for an event. I did this for a Vegas event last year, okay? And I never even thought to ask about, hotel and travel and things like that. Obviously, I did that because I had to sleep somewhere for the night, but I never thought to like ask them about it just because I don't typically do that. And then I found out that other people that were there did get everything comped and covered by the brand. And it was fine, not a big deal, because I didn't ask. And they were like, oh no, they offered. And I was like, interesting. But then someone else that was like with the brand was like, I told them to offer, like if they were inviting people from out of state, I told them they have to offer some type of credit or whatever. But it sounds like a lot of the people that were invited to this Dallas event were based outside of Dallas. Now, there are quite a few creators that were based in Dallas or at least in the Texas area. And so it's easier for them to get there versus some of the other creators that they were inviting that would have no choice but to fly in and stay in a hotel at least for a night to make it make sense. So see, Vegas is a state over. It's a 4-hour drive. It's a 1-hour flight. Okay. That's one thing. Dallas, Vegas, typically I would just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not based in Texas. A lot of times events will be around other major events that they know a lot of creators will be in town for. For example, Clarence did an event alongside the Formula One Austin Grand Prix last year. And so my team was like, are looking for any other like potential opportunities and things like that while I was in town. And Clarence was like, oh, we're doing an event. And a lot of influencers that were at the race ended up at the Clarence event. And they put a lot of money into the Clarence event because they were launching a new product, which I've used all of. Frankly, they gifted me quite a bit of it. It was like a fun event. I had a good time and they covered our Uber cost and things like that. But like they weren't paying me to go to that. That's just a go to this thing, get the free stuff, post if you'd like, if you could, that'd be cool. But like, that's really it. Okay. And that's pretty standard with a lot of these types of events. It's the, post if you'd like, here's the event type of thing. However, trying to transport for an event, we get into some different territories, okay? And different brands will do different things. And all of this comes down to you, the creator. But Sydney was talking about a lot of the different things for this event. There was another thing that went out not too long before the event was supposed to happen. That was like a do's and don'ts list and was like, if you do any of these things, you'll be removed from the premises. Reply immediately. Just a bunch of stuff that she was like, I don't like what this is looking like. It's giving kidnapped. I don't feel like getting abducted today. Things like that. And she's 100% right. As someone who travels alone frequently, in the last month, I was on like 8 different flights. Okay. If you are uncomfortable, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Just be done. If you are uncomfortable, trust your gut. Okay. She was uncomfortable. She was seeing red flags, and it may not have been anything necessarily nefarious, but she was uncomfortable, and she has every right to be like, I don't trust this event. I don't want to go. I'm going to not have my friends go. I don't feel comfortable with this. Even just as simple as being like, hey, you get a +3 when you invite me, to then a week or so before the event being like, actually, we can't accommodate that anymore. I'd be like, sorry, what? Because she's like, yeah, when you're making the guest list. And it sounds like she's like, I think they oversold the guest list or over-invited basically. And that was the issue, is that 2 people agreed to go, which like, in LA, that makes sense because you invite X amount of people, you assume at least 20% are probably not going to show up or show up late. Like, again, all of this is valid. She is 100% valid for being like, I'm uncomfortable, this is that. And she also explains in another video, not saying the brand's name, but she talks about how a lot of brands kind of play in the faces of creators that are 100K to 500K. I believe this is true. And I'm not saying because anyone's playing in my face or anything like that. I have a few friends that are like, know how much I charge for brand deals and things like that. And they're like, you should be getting more money. And I'm like, it's fine. I don't care. Now there's numbers that I won't accept. Like there's things that I won't do, especially here on YouTube. Forget even like YouTube, because obviously I don't have even 100K on most of my other social media platforms. Okay. There's things that I have seen from time to time where they are hoping that you as a creator do not understand your value and what you bring to the table. Now, I have talked a lot about how influencers and content creators are the new forms of marketing. There's a lot of marketing dollars. Hermes is barking because he agrees as my producer. There's a lot of brands that are hoping that you're going to be excited about free stuff and things like that, and that you're not realizing how much money you could potentially be making for the brand by your involvement, or what good PR you could be doing for the brand by being involved. She never says the name Static Nails in this video, and in the follow-up video, I don't think she ever says it, and she explains why. Some people are like, I can't believe you're not sharing the name of the company, like you're not helping anyone with this. And like with the tone of her video, I understand why that's the follow-up, but like there's certain things, like I've tried to talk with people about this. There's certain things that I can say when I've physically attended an event, because that is my physical experience. There's other things I can't say when I have not physically attended an event, because there's different protections for those different things legally. She is just talking about her experience with these things and the fact that there wasn't an NDA and things like that, which some of these brands have me sign an NDA when it comes to the contracts and some don't. You know, it depends on the company and things like that. Some companies know how bad an NDA looks, and so they don't often do it when it comes to like inviting you to an event, because they want you to not be stressed out and they want you to have a good time. I don't think necessarily a lack of an NDA is a good or a bad thing in this sense. There's also brands where it's like, yeah, I may have had a negative experience with you, but like, I do still want to work with you again or whatever, you know, like it's like, because a one-off is a one-off. It could be one person within the company that kind of sucks. You know, it could be a bajillion and one things. It doesn't sound like she wants to work with this company again or anything like that. She just had a bad experience, but also it's one thing to go on the internet and be like, hey, I think you're going to put me in danger, essentially. And another thing to be like, this company is actively trying to scam me with my audience and put me in danger and things like that. So different strokes for different folks in the regards of protecting yourself legally. I think she was smart to not say the company name. People figured it out. She has no control over people figuring it out. Normally, I would say I'm an asshole, so I would say the company's name. However, this was prior to the event happening, so I probably wouldn't have said it. So there's that, you know, like just for protection's sake and legal protection. Sometimes you just got to play the long game. And as she said, this is a business. You got to think differently. Yeah, she's not just some random TikTok user. She's got, let me check her follower count, 233,000 followers. Like she has a follower count for a reason. This could easily be like, oh, people didn't come to the event because of her video and things like that, which it sounds like some of the people were concerned about going to the event from her video, which like there's a lot of times I go to things that you guys are like, you shouldn't go because of X, Y, and Z. And I go anyway because I know the risks associated with it. And I know that whether it's good or bad or the fire department gets called and the building burns down, I'm going to get a video out of it. And so therefore it is valuable for me to still attend even with possible risks. Now, the risks I am well aware of before I go, okay, and honestly, going to a random venue, I would like to know the venue I'm going to. But she explains like everything that she is the red flag about and things like that. And there was a lot of creators that made follow-up videos to Sydney's videos that was like, get ready with me to maybe get scammed at this party. And they were like, I'm going. Some traveled, some are from the Texas area, but they were like, I'm going, let's see. Which like I think is valid and fine, which like if you made a video that was trending and like everyone was saying it was a scam, I 100% would be leaning into it. I've made jokes about that. When I went to When We Were Young Fest, everyone was like, this is going to be a scam. And then I went and then the first day was canceled. And then people just didn't realize there was 2 other days and they were like, I thought it was canceled. And it's like, come with me to a canceled event. You know, you got to play into it sometimes because that's how SEO works. You got to be smart with it. Okay. So like people making jokes about it, it sucks because again, these were things that she was actively concerned about, but I understand why that was happening.
Okay, I am here reporting live from the $78 million mansion party in Dallas that everybody was losing their minds over. The update is it's actually a really nice event and it is not giving Fire Festival at all. After being here, I don't understand how this got blown out of proportion so much. I think they just invited a shit ton of people because the venue is massive. I've been here for over an hour and I haven't even gone in all the rooms yet. Basically just walking around the house shopping for free, getting a ton of free stuff. So yeah, it's actually really sick and I'm glad that I came.
Now, some of these events, the videos of people that actually ended up at the event made a lot of videos digging at Sydney and some of the other creators that were talking. Now, there was a lot of other creators that were talking as well. There was like, hey, I'm not going because of X, Y, and Z, or I am going because of X, Y, and Z. And again, that's to each their own. If you were like, I don't need to be paid, I think this is going to be valuable because of X, Y, and Z, this is my business, I'm going to invest in this, things like that, then that's totally your call. Everyone has different tolerances for different things. It's much easier for me to be like, I'm okay with them not paying me because I can make money on my videos and content and things like that. I am monetized on all platforms. Very little on Instagram, but still, I am monetized. So it's very easy for me to be like, I can do this and I can weigh the pros and cons. Now, sometimes I look at the event and I'm like, this is not worth the cost. Even if I'm able to make money off of it, this is not going to be worth it because of X, Y, and Z. I probably wouldn't go to this if I had been invited to it just because I'm like, yeah, this would be cool, but I would 100% be making like a horror movie edit. Like I would be like, oh gosh, this is crazy. There's so much money in makeup. Like, because there's so much money in the beauty industry. That was my takeaway when I went to the Clarence event. That's my takeaway every time I go to an event here in LA. I'm like, God, there's so much money in beauty. I get why every single like celebrity and all these people like make a beauty line because there's so much money in it. Now, there's also a lot of ways you can lose money in beauty, but there's a lot of ways to make money in the beauty industry. And like, if you have a successful product or a product that you know is going to be successful, the money that they will shell out for these things is a lot. Should I tell this story before I go? Because like I said, I kind of touched on this. I want to make it abundantly clear. I'm not saying these names here because I will work with these companies again in the future. In a perfect world. That's my goal. I just don't think that this particular event, some of the things that were handled and things like that is the way for us to go about that partnership. And so I canceled 14 hours before I was supposed to get on a flight to go to an international trip. In this instance, the company was going to pay for my flights and my hotel and travel and all this stuff because there was some form of value of me traveling out of the country to go to this event. Last minute, my team and I decided, let's not go, there was too many little things that were adding up that were not necessarily red flags, but clearly some form of miscommunication, or at the very least, a lack of information for me and my team. And it was like, we were trusting these people to basically have my back and like do this whole event thing type of thing in another country and have me attend with them. And it was like I was operating on fractional information that me and my team agreed was required for me to go and successfully do this event and feel comfortable doing so. So then it was a bunch of things like that. Okay. That was just like all adding up to the final point of like 6 or 7 p.m. the night before I'm supposed to get on a nonstop international flight, that we were like, actually, we have to say no. We have to pull this out. My team agreed. And frankly, once we canceled everything, my anxiety dissipated. Same with my manager's anxiety. Because again, nothing bad was going to happen. The event seemingly happened. Everything seemed to be fine. I have heard nothing. Nothing seems like it went bad. There was no like active issues. Okay. But it was one of those things where I would not have been comfortable and my team was not comfortable letting me get on this plane. And so that's where we had to pull out. It wasn't a hell yes, so we had to say no. And that's okay. And everything seems to be fine. Maybe they think I'm a diva. Totally cool. Flights were all refunded. Hotel was handled. Everything is handled and fine and dandy. But it was one of those things where it's like, at the very least, I would have probably made the most of it and things like that. I would have been able to make content and X, Y, and Z, and I would have sorted myself out. But the risk of even getting on the plane was too concerning and high. And like the time that I would have been gone would have been like 4 days, where it's like the loss of income for streaming, for making other videos, things like that was too high for like the lack of information that we had. And so it was like, you know what? So sorry. Would love to work with you in the future. We have to veto this, basically. And that is the decision that you have to make as a creator, as an individual, you and your team. My team backed me up the entire time. We were on the same page. Every time we were going to talk to them, we had a call, because if I hadn't told them I was uncomfortable, they may not have told me that they also, okay, good, we're also uncomfortable. We don't know what's going on. This feels weird. We need to discuss this, okay? You have to be willing to be honest with yourself about how you're feeling. Would it have potentially been like a really great opportunity? Yes, but I was uncomfortable, and that's what you have to think about. And I am known for being the one to put myself in uncomfortable situations, for going to weird events. I have been to things where it is actively potentially harmful for my health to be there, and yet I do it. The difference was, with this and that, I had to put a lot of faith in other people that were like being kind of weird with me. If I was paying for my hotel, travel, all that stuff, and everything was done because I'm a control freak, obviously it's made me a lot of money being a control freak. It probably would have been a different story, and I would have been cool with some of the other red flags and weirdo stuff if I had complete control over everything, but I didn't. Trust your gut when you travel alone, when you travel with friends. If you are the one friend that is like, hey, something is wrong, you need to be comfortable doing that, okay? Because again, whether there was nothing wrong with this mansion party or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't look like anything horrible happened. Some people talked about a couple of different things. A few of the things that I saw that like seemingly else was red flags to people. They offered not an Uber code or a Lyft code. It was some new company that was like a group thing.
They're telling us that parking's limited, but they have this rideshare service, not Lyft, not Uber, that I've never heard of. Use their code and they'll come get us and then take us to... It's giving get out. It's giving kidnapped, and being kidnapped is just not on my agenda for this week.
If it was like a shuttle service or something like that, then I would recommend, like, at the very least, hey, here's a few hotels that we're offering. The shuttle service will be operating from this hotel. But that's not what it was. It was like a car service, and it was a car service that most of the people involved were like, I had never heard of this before, which is suspicious to people as well. A shuttle service where it's like, hey, we have shuttles to take you from point A to point B. That's one thing. A lot of people are comfortable with that because usually you're not the only person on that shuttle service. However, a new car service that I'm assuming either gave them a kickback or it was a partnership of some sort, which could be totally valid and fair and dandy, it still could make people uncomfortable, especially again for people that are traveling. And even then, some people that were based in Dallas and Texas and things like that were like, this feels weird, like in relation to that. And some people just got their own travel and stuff. It's like, again, just shell out for an Uber code if you're going to do this. I'm just saying, like, unless they were like giving you a ton of shmoney, which like maybe they were. Next, we have some of the other videos that people made that were red flag adjacent. We have Asia May, I believe, and she was a smaller creator that went to this, and she was basically throwing quite a bit of shade at some of the people that didn't go. Also, I should note this whole thing was in collaboration between Legally Blonde and Static Nails to promote their new collaboration. That's why they got like this big mansion party and they did everything all pink and big and things like that. Also, one of the other red flags is that some of these creators, it seems, got sent regular PR by Static, and a lot of these people that were invited did not, but they were actually going to be asked to be putting on Static Nails going into this event or something like that if they didn't have Static Nails on, which like if you're not going to be sending out PR, what are we doing? You know, like there's some events that my friends have been to where it's like, oh yeah, no, you're going with, let's say Hot Topic. I'm not affiliated with Hot Topic, but still Hot Topic like would invite some of my friends to various events and they would literally send them clothes like, hey, yeah, we want you to wear these clothes. What are your sizes? Here you go. Here are some options. And then wear those to those events type of thing. If you're going to get specific with it, that's kind of the type of thing you got to be doing. I screenshotted Asia's caption because I thought it was interesting. I say get the facts first. The internet called the $78 million mansion soiree a scam, but in reality, it was the Legally Blonde Static Nails launch in Vegas, filled with creators, brands, and connections that could. Sometimes what looks like just an event is actually an opportunity. And I agree. Everything is an opportunity. Me filming this video is an opportunity. Me going grocery shopping and not wearing my AirPods and talking with people in the grocery store is an opportunity. It's a matter of if you feel comfortable in that opportunity or not. If you feel uncomfortable going to something, you don't have to go. If you feel uncomfortable at something, leave. There's always a flight home. That's my thing. There are events that I am at to review that someone made me uncomfortable at, or I clocked something that made me uncomfortable, and I've left. And I document that when it does. And that is a note in and of itself. I am very pro talking with people, talking with strangers, going to an event and asking questions, being okay to show that you don't know everything, and like asking questions and learning about things. But it's okay to also acknowledge that you are uncomfortable with something. Before, after, during, whatever, it doesn't matter. There are things that I've covered at events and I'm like, oh, this is fine and dandy. And then later I talk with other people and I'm like, oh yeah, that was kind of weird actually. Actually, that was weird. That was shitty. You know, like you think about it later and you have different context and then you talk with different people and it's different. It's different, you know. Like the other thing as well is that a lot of these creators that are talking back and forth are Black women, okay? And if you look at Static Nails' presence on TikTok, there is, I think, one video that I can identifiably see featuring a Black creator or a Black individual, okay? Because I don't know if she's a model or anything like that. That is something that some of these creators are pointing out where it's like, hey, I feel like you're using us as PR or, you know, using us to like up your brand image with Black women and potential Black buyers, and yet we are being given like weird information or like being treated in this way, and I just think I deserve payment and things like that.
If you scroll their social media, you scroll their TikTok, there is no Black girls on their TikTok, but a lot of the videos about people getting invited was a lot of Black women. So that was kind of like a little bit weird to me. Do you know how much money they have to pay for these commercials when they don't use influencers? They have to pay for a set designer, art director, creative director, a producer, sometimes a director, a photographer, an editor, a makeup artist, a hairstylist, a regular stylist. Sometimes there's a tailor on set, craft services. But they want you as a content creator to do all that shit for free and then scare you as a content creator and bully you into silence because they don't want bad press on their name, even though they are doing bad business.
And then there are some other creators that are also Black that are like, we need to give them the chance and let them, maybe they're trying to be better. And it's like, that's not for me to weigh in on. Obviously, that's also adding into this, okay, when people talking about this. Now, another creator that spoke about this is, I believe it's Elena Duke Beauty, and she talks about how she is a TikTok shop creator and that she flew to this event, and she's also super drunk in her video, which is very funny. She's like nibbling on a salad and a sandwich as she's just talking. It's kind of funny.
I can admit when I'm wrong, and I was so fucking wrong about the mansion event. I decided to go to this event in Dallas, which happened to be on the same day as a beauty event in LA that I already RSVP'd for. And then I said to them, listen, I'm not going to go to this one. and I regret that. This wasn't a scam. It was a real event. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful place. But here's the thing. As a seasoned creator, 44 years old, and as a TikTok creator, this event was kind of lackluster. I've had the privilege of going to very beautiful events hosted by Shiseido, Tarte, First Aid Beauty, you name it. And this one was whack.
She goes back and forth about different things, and you can take into account different things, but she acknowledges like, yeah, I made this choice and I don't think I made the right one, and that's okay. You know, it's like, that's the risk you take with these events. And she talks about traveling and things like that, and like making content. She talks about being monetized the same way I just did. Again, different people have different tolerances for different things. She's also older, based on her own explanation, where she's like, I'm an adult. And she's sharing her experience with that and how she's been doing this content for 7 years and things like that. And so she's like, I know what I can make content from. And she made like 5 or 6 different videos during this event, post this event and things like that on TikTok. And she's even promoting other products for TikTok Shop and these other things. Now, you guys know how I feel about TikTok Shop, but like, she's found what works for her. Then there is Being Crystal Nicole on TikTok. She talks about getting ready for this party and how like it's like the scam party and things like that, but she's like excited to go and like people are wrong and things like that. Sydney followed up and brought up Nicole specifically, and they went back and forth. Again, I'm not going to weigh in on this for obvious reasons, but here are both of their videos. I will link them down below. Nicole says that she was talking about everyone that was calling the event a scam and decided not to go. Sydney thinks that she was going after her specifically because her video was the first one that I saw, so maybe it was the first one in total, which like that happens from time to time. All it takes is one person being like, hey, here is how I'm feeling. And then everyone else is like, oh, thank God, I feel the same way. Thank you for saying it first, because now I feel comfortable saying it. So it could be a mix of different things, you know, but again, I think both of them make very good points. None of these people are necessarily wrong. They all have their own comfort levels for these different things. Now, I'm always team, I think you should know your worth in these regards, and you should know, you know, what these brands are going to use this content for, things like that. Like, is it just going to be on an Instagram post, or is it going to end up on the website? You know, like there are things you got to kind of think about. Are you going to be in a pitch deck going forward for whatever reason about how they need to stay in Sephora? Because look at our clientele. You know, like there's things you got to kind of think about. I did see this other video but Talia Blanc on TikTok. She's based in Dallas, and she has almost 500,000 followers on TikTok. And she was noting how she felt it was weird that she is a fairly large creator based in Dallas, goes to a lot of Dallas events, but she was not invited to this event. And she talked to her management about it, and yet they were offering to fly other people in. Now, there could be a variety of different reasons for this, but I wanted to make that note as well, because there were some larger creators that go to a lot of events based in the Dallas area that weren't invited to this. That could be a variety of different things. It could just be like you don't really cover nails all that much on your channel, or you have previously said like, oh, I don't do press on nails and things like that. Like, me getting invited to a press on nail event would be weird, unless they're like, we're determined to make we're going to be your nail brand and you're going to fall in love with nails and things like that. That's where they would probably be like, let's get Swell. Anyone who's like been anti nails, like there's definitely been events where it's like, oh, we're very into people that like that normally don't do this. We want to be the ones that they talk about, so we're inviting all these people. I have seen events like that. Have not been to anything like that, but I want to make that note. Like, there have been things where it's like, we are actively going to change this mindset around our product. That's why we're inviting you, type of thing. Maybe there will be more coming out from this event. For the most part, there's a lot of people that were like, I'm going to be the one that has a good time. When it comes to influencer events in general, if you like the product, I am all for promoting the product like crazy. You guys know, if I like something, if I use something day to day, I talk about it all the time. But if you just want to be the one that's like, I had a great time because everyone else is saying they had a bad time, and your goal is to just become, you know, that company's #1 cheerleader online without them paying you because you think that's going to get you things in the future, maybe it will, but also maybe it won't. So that's all I'm going to say. Tread at your own risk. And again, your experience is valid. There's probably a lot of people that had a lot of good times at this event. There's also probably people that didn't have a good time and just were like, I'm going to get my photo and I'm going to leave. Totally valid. I'm going to walk around this mansion and then I'm going to dip. Always a possibility. I make that very clear with all of my event reviews that I do. I just talked about this in my Warped Tour video. I had a great time, but I had to acknowledge the fact that there was a lot of people. The only content I was getting out of the event was people not having a good time and feeling miserable. That is okay to acknowledge those two different realities. It doesn't mean that I or them are incorrect. We had our own experiences because we are different people. We all have different tolerances for different things. I also explained that the parking was like nightmare fuel and I wasn't going to deal with that. And then there are people that are like, I would put up anything to go see so-and-so live. Valid, fair, fine, go do you. I am different. I refuse to look for parking for more than an hour. I refuse. Anyways, that's going to be it. Did you hear about static nails? Have you ever tried static nails? Did you hear about the $78 million mansion party or whatever it is? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder to check out Girly Pop Go if you'd like to see more car and motorsport content. Shout out to my channel members. If you'd like to join me on channel memberships, you can go and click join down below. Like to my social media. That'll be all up here. And that's going to have a lovely day. Goodbye. Oh God, it's so far. Overall, again, you gotta trust your gut, especially in business, especially when it's your livelihood, especially when your business is your face. Okay? You gotta trust your brain, trust your gut.